happy Monday to everybody. Welcome to the Plug Talk Sports live show, episode 89. We're queuing in on that episode 100. We're almost there. Very excited for that. But happy Monday night. Welcome to a brand new week, brand new show. As we always kick things off here at Plug Talk Sports, shameless plug and plug of the week. I think last week we did. I think it was bad news first. Was it bad news first?
I think so.
Yeah, it was. So we'll do good news first. Brandon, you're up first.
Well, good news for those who do not know. I have one of my many other jobs I do here in Northern Florida. I work for a paper called The Alligator, and I do cover men's basketball. I just had published my first ever transfer portal report for those Florida Gator fans who are interested in, just knowing about who the Gators got so far this offseason, exactly, who they might be interested in. So that took a couple of hours, a ton of time during the week last week. But glad it got published, and definitely good to see kind of, my work being on print. So
that's fantastic, man. Congrats, bro. I know you've been working pretty hard, so that's fantastic to hear. Mm-hmm. Jonka's feeling very patriotic today, I see.
Oh yeah, represent the New England Patriots.
Guy looks like a damn American flag.
USA. As I said last week, I was gonna get a haircut. I got my haircut.
Nice.
Shout out to Grumman's Barbershop and Spa. If you haven't gone, go get it. They're awesome.
Which is also the host of where we have our barbershop talks.
Yep. If you haven't seen that, go to our socials, our YouTube. Go watch them. They're awesome. And I think our shout. I'm gonna shout somebody out. Destiny Harden, women's University of Miami women's basketball player, just got drafted by the Phoenix Mercury in the WNBA draft just like 5 minutes ago.
Nice.
Third round, 27th pick. So shout out to Destiny Harden. She played amazing in the NCAA tournament for the women's division. So
perfect. For me, it has to be, obviously, yesterday was Easter. You guys know, I think churches around the world, Easter is like Super Bowl Sunday for churches. And I was able, I serve in the kids ministry in my church. And it was going to be a big day. I served all three services, 9 a.m., 10:45, and 12:30 p.m. It was utter madness. But it was great to see that we had 1,338 kids that we were able to take care of. And we had 400 plus people get baptized yesterday, beginning at 6 a.m. So it's an incredible number to see people, publicly profess, give their life to follow Jesus Christ. So it was great. It was a great, so many families. I saw a young man who got baptized in the water with his mom at the same time. And it was a very moving moment for those families, an emotional moment for those families. So it was great to see. It was very beautiful to see. So I think that would be my plug for sure of the week. It was great to see that, people coming together. Shameless plug. Let's get to bad news. Brandon, what's your bad news?
Bad news. I mean, I know we're gonna go talk about it later on. But definitely the stress that's been going on with me today, watching the Panthers play against the Maple Leafs. We're gonna go into it later on, I know, but just South Florida sports right now, going to the playoffs, but it's like on the brink. You know what I mean? With Miami Heat, Panthers. So again, just stressed out right now, trying to figure out what's the postseason like. So,
Jonka?
I'm gonna have to say Inter Miami playing like dog water again.
5 straight losses, man.
It's tough.
I think who's the next game they play Houston.
Hey, they play Houston, which Miami's not a good road team, and Houston has not lost at home this season.
And we just lost to Dallas, so
I'm gonna say this right now. I don't think we're gonna talk about it today, but after the game against Houston, they play Miami FC. I say if Miami loses to Miami FC, Phil Neville needs to be fired on the spot. No, like David Beckham needs to walk out midfield and say, "Get out of here!" in the mid, right after the game is over, after the whistle. If they lose, he needs to be fired right there and there in front of the entire stadium.
I mean, listen. I mean, we're not gonna talk about it tonight, but we can talk a little bit about it right now. But if they lose to Houston, that's 6 straight losses. Like, they're already tied right now with the Chicago Fire from the late 1990s for the worst losing streak in Major League Soccer. If they pick up the 6 next weekend, they'll have the worst losing streak in Major League Soccer. And I can tell you right now, the only player that's playing good on that team is Drake Callender.
Yeah.
Phil needs to go. It's been time. He's only there because he's good friends with David Beckham. It's been time for him to go. It's evident everyone's tired of the excuses post-game, and the frustration is mounting. Joseph Martinez has been invisible up front. Campana is back from injury, but was invisible and was subbed off. And you can tell the frustrations are mounting in the locker room. Pizarro, Campana, and Martinez refused to talk to the media after the game. Yesterday, I think 2 of them didn't even acknowledge that the media was there and just walked right past them. They're in trouble. They've fallen. They were at first in the Eastern Conference, I think, after week 2, and they have fallen hard all the way to 12th in the Eastern Conference. It's a sinking ship right now, and see if Phil is able to correct the ship, but right now it's not looking good.
No, not at all. But I do have to say, though, if he does get fired at FIU Stadium, that would be an amazing end to Phil's career. I have to say that would be just an insane end to end in Miami at FIU Stadium. Not Hard Rock, not Drive Pink, but FIU Stadium.
For me, my shameless plug has to be Tiger Woods. Oh man. Ever since that first round of the Masters on Thursday morning, like, it was evident that it was a tough watch. Like, if you watch the Masters, it was a tough watch to see Tiger Woods. Like, at this point, people still get excited to watch Tiger Woods because of everything he's done for the sport, but he's past his prime, obviously. He's had so many injuries and issues in his career and his personal life. But it was evident from the beginning in round 1 on Thursday, he was struggling, and he was struggling big time. I don't think he ever broke being in the 50s. I don't even think he got out of the 50s in the Masters. And then Sunday morning, I mean, there was a video from Saturday in the late second round where the guy was barely able to walk.
Yeah.
From how much pain he had in his back. And then Sunday morning before the 3rd and 4th round, he withdrew from the Masters and said he couldn't continue because of the pain he was having. But yeah, you never want to see a legend of the game go through something like that. But it's been a tough watch, I think, now for the last couple of years for Tiger Woods.
No, it has. I mean, not even that, just like the Masters itself without Tiger Woods. I know we're going to get to that time where he's not going to be playing golf anymore, but man, it was just like, he was there. He kept on going through. He was there in that game. He would have been in the final day if it wasn't for the injury. So, who knows exactly how long. Again, maybe he wouldn't be able to win it, but, who knows how much he would have got. So, it's definitely tough to see that.
And with that, let's get to our first topic. And this was a surprise yesterday. Out of nowhere on Easter Sunday, this news just happens. But Odell Beckham Jr. has finally found a team, and that team is the Baltimore Ravens. Now, before you guys go, I'll say my part. This move does not happen. There had to be some talks between Odell Beckham Jr. and Lamar Jackson before this move happened. And I feel like this move, OBJ doesn't go to Baltimore if he's not sure Lamar Jackson is going to stay. We know Lamar Jackson asked for a trade, but there's no common sense in why OBJ would go to Baltimore without Lamar Jackson. I mean, it would be kind of. I feel like it would be kind of pointless. It would be kind of dumb. Like he would have so many better options in other teams than in Baltimore that it wouldn't make sense to me. And I think that OBJ going to the Ravens, I think this might sanctify Lamar Jackson staying with the Ravens. Brandon is shaking his head. He probably disagrees with me.
Look, the man got offered a 1-year, $18 million contract. And I mind you, as a wide receiver who has been through injury for the past few years, and Odell Beckham Jr., not even the top wide receiver in the NFL right now. Again, great wide receiver, probably top 10. But $18 million for 1 year, $15 million of that is guaranteed. Lamar Jackson or not, I don't even care if I'm in the XFL from Odell Beckham. I'm taking the contract.
So what you're saying is at this point in OBJ's career, he's already got a Super Bowl ring. You're saying, all right, I'm just going to grab the bag. It's not about winning that much necessarily. I don't care if Lamar is there. I'm just going to grab the bag. And to be honest, the last couple of years in his career, he's been on 1-year contracts.
Yeah. No, I mean, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, for me personally, for this whole entire thing with Odell Beckham joining Baltimore, I think that from what we're seeing from the wide receiver group, I mean, Odell can get a lot of touches in that one, as well as, of course, as mentioned before, that $18 million, $15 million guarantee contract deal with the Ravens for 1 year. I mean, that can set him up, and who knows exactly if this will be the last season of Odell Beckham Jr.'s career. Now, NFL players, they're not like the NBA or anything like that, where they have expected 20-year spans of a career, even 10-year span is pretty rare for some guys in a position such as wide receiver or even running back. So I think Odell, right now, it's a good move for himself. I think it was a smart move for his career. And in the sense of Lamar Jackson, does he stay? Does this mean that Odell wanted to catch the ball from Lamar? I honestly don't think that really has anything to it. I think the ship has definitely sailed for Lamar Jackson, even prior to him announcing it in early March that he wanted to be traded away from this organization in Baltimore. But definitely, does it bring some weight? I think it does bring some weight. The same way that it brings when Andrew Wiggins was, brought into the Cavs and then traded away by LeBron, basically, for Kevin Love in 2016. It's just, I don't know. The move, it's a last-minute try for Lamar if it is, but I don't think it's enough at all. I just think it's Odell just want to be secure in his career.
Before Jonka goes, I will say that Odell and Lamar Jackson yesterday were seen partying it up at the club together. I don't know if that celebration, again, I don't know. That's like an indicator like, hey, is this a celebration? Is it two dudes just hanging out? Or is it two dudes celebrating that they're now going to be teammates? Jonko, what's your thought on this situation?
My thoughts, I can see how Brandon would take that side. I see that side of the thing, but I'm gonna say that I think this is just an experiment. I think Lamar's gonna stay 1 more year. I think, and then Odell signed for 1 year. They're gonna try to see how it goes. If it doesn't work out, then they're both free agents the next season, and then they can just both choose where to go.
That could possibly happen. They could give Lamar could just sign a 1 year.
I think that's just gonna be what it is. They're just gonna say, okay, yeah, I want to play with you. We're two big stars. I need a receiver. You need a quarterback. Odell needs a team. There you go. He gets a contract. He gets his money. Lamar gets a wide receiver that's, I guess reliable in some way, in some sense. It brings people to the stadium. That's the only way I can see anything going on right now. Maybe the Ravens will pick up another wide receiver in the draft because they did get Odell for cheap, even though they did give him money guaranteed, but not too much, like, I guess, in salary in a way. So that's the only way I can see it happen, because they weren't going to give him a multi-year deal because Odell isn't reliable at the moment. Even though he did come back from injury, you saw that drama we saw in the airplane. I don't know. Odell looked like he was high, if he was on something. I don't know what it was. It didn't look good for him. So this is going to be a one and done thing. Lamar stays 1 year, tries out with Odell. Odell stays 1 year, the same thing. They go If it works out, they'll probably try to give him a new contract and see how good Lamar does this year. If Lamar breaks expectations this year and has a phenomenal year, and the Ravens do not offer him a contract, a significant contract, the Ravens should just drop dead of a team. They should just drop dead.
Well, here's my question. Let's say Lamar Jackson stays. They get Odell Beckham Jr. Where do you guys think this puts the Baltimore Ravens in the AFC?
If he stays.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Jonka. The only thing I would probably even predict is like third in their division. I mean, were the Ravens, again, this was a Raven team I understand that was right there in the postseason. But even so, I mean, can they even compete with Cincinnati? Can they even go out of their way and beat out Pittsburgh down the end in the AFC? I don't think they can make it even out of their own division. That's what I think, at least. And the AFC is one of the hardest places to really compete in the NFL.
I'm gonna agree with you, Brandon. I think, first of all, you don't know which Odell Beckham Jr. you're gonna get. We still haven't, we don't know which OBJ we've had in the last couple of years. We know what we're gonna get from Lamar Jackson. You're gonna have to see the chemistry there, how the chemistry plays out. There's a lot of question marks, but even if it does work out, I don't think it's enough to beat what all the other teams have in the AFC.
Yeah.
I would put Baltimore. They finished, was it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? They finished 5th this year in the AFC. Man, and Jacksonville, Miami, Pittsburgh, the Jets are all going to be better this coming year. I don't see them making the play. I don't even see them making the wild card. I don't.
Wow.
That's
Denver just got a new offensive coordinator. So did New England. All these teams are going to be going up. What's it called? Kellen Moore, the offensive coordinator, went to the Chargers. They're going to be better. Bengals, we know Bengals. Joey B. Buffalo's still going to be good. Kansas City. Trevor Lawrence is going to be outstanding this year. That's my prediction. We don't know about Tua yet, but I'm going to assume that he's going to be good. The Dolphins are going to be up there. Pitcher or Kenny Pickett, we don't know yet. But with Mike Tomlin, he's never had a below 500 season in his entire tenure with the Steelers. So we know they're going to be good no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sorry. I think Baltimore is going to be dropped out. I think they're going to drop out, and either Pittsburgh or New England or the Jets are going to take that spot.
I agree. I don't think this is an attractive move, and for me, I don't think this is a move that will surpass Baltimore as like huge title contenders. Or it's like, all right, cool. Like OBJ went to Baltimore. Like
their window left like 2-3 years ago when Lamar had that chance to beat Cleveland in the wild card in that first round. It dropped.
He could have picked. But again, it's back to what Brandon says. It's the money that they offered him. If he wanted to win another title, there was a wide range of options that he could have gone to that would have made a dangerous team. But instead, I think, like Brandon said, he chose the cash and went to Baltimore.
Yeah.
But with that, we're going to go into Brandon's favorite topic, which is basketball.
Mm-hmm.
We got some NBA playoffs right around the corner. The season wrapped up. Jonka's got his NBA Finals Miami Heat hat. We got the play-in tournament first, and that starts on Tuesday night. We got the Miami Heat taking on the Atlanta Hawks. What do you guys think about that play-in game?
For that one, I think honestly for both sides, both Atlanta and Miami, I think it's very fitting because these were two sides that met each other in the first round last year. And It was a totally different story last year. Heat, first seeded team, blew out the Hawks in almost every way, especially in that first game. I remember I was there in person. But this year is a totally different scenario, though. A playing team like the Miami Heat having to face an Atlanta squad who is very confident. From what I'm hearing right now from some sources that are around Atlanta, as well as NBA on Twitter, the Atlanta Hawks are confident that they can actually make a deep run into the playoffs, at least into the second round, and potentially do something with Trae Young, as well as DeJounte Murray, who's been phenomenal with Atlanta for the entire season in his first year with the Hawks. The Miami Heat, their side of the story, Jimmy Butler, obviously, there's been rumors around. If they don't even make it out of the play-in tournament, Butler might leave Miami. So the Heat trying to avoid that with UD's last season as well, funny as it is. But, yeah, so potentially 2 Miami greats could be leaving after this postseason, potentially what Miami does in the play-in. But Miami, it's going to be a tough road. You're going to have to look at your bench players, really. Highsmith, you got to look at, hopefully Bam Adebayo gives you a 30-piece in South Beach on Tuesday. But it'll definitely be a much closer game than I think people will think.
Yeah, I think with the whole Jimmy Butler, I mean, he said today, he was like, hey, no one picked us last year. No one's going to pick us again this year, so we're just going to go out and do it. Regardless, they get out of the play-in. Either 2 options, man, it's hard. It's either Boston or Milwaukee in the first round. And it's, for me, both of them are first-round exits if you're Miami.
Yeah.
There's no escaping it. That's my opinion. I want to pick the Heat in this matchup with the Hawks, but they've been so inconsistent this year that you don't know, like, is a good Miami Heat team going to show up or is a bad Miami Heat team who's going to show up? And the only reason why Miami has won games this year is because Jimmy has to go for legit 35 in order to win a game.
Yeah.
Some nights that didn't even work. So all I'm going to say, I'll leave it at it's going to be a very difficult game. Jonka?
We all know my stance on the Heat this year. If you haven't been keeping up, I've said I have not watched a single Heat game this entire damn season. And Daniel can back it up.
Yeah, this is true.
The Heat need to do what they've always done against the Hawks. Just trap Trae Young. He's too small, and he's the leader of the offense. If you could just control him, you win the game. If you let him shoot, he can get hot, and he can really burn you. But I'm just letting you know, if he lose this game, they would have to play either Toronto or the Bulls. I think I got the Bulls beating Toronto, and I don't think the Heat would want to go against OG Anunoby and the Toronto Raptors if they were to lose against the Hawks. I'm telling you right now. I think if the Heat were to lose the Atlanta Hawks, it would be so embarrassing that they should just sit out and just tank. Just sit out and tank. Just don't even try anymore.
Yeah, I mean, and not even that, because what I would say, though, because I know you mentioned about losing this game and potentially playing against Chicago or Toronto. I mean, I don't think that people realize the Raptors are actually, like, they're a good, decent team. They have size. Defensively, They're really one of the best in the NBA, in my honest opinion. And they're just getting more hot. I mean, they haven't really peaked yet this season. So, Miami, I don't know exactly where I think, honestly, in my opinion, they peaked in January. But it's a tough road if they lose this one. And, of course, on the other side of it, Boston, Milwaukee is not a winning situation for them.
Nope. And I got actually, you mentioned that game. I got Toronto beating Chicago in that game.
No, same.
Here's an interesting one. This is a juicy matchup right here. Minnesota Timberwolves and Los Angeles Lakers also on Tuesday night. Let's just talk about the Timberwolves for a second. Rudy Gobert is not going to be playing against the Lakers because the Timberwolves have decided they're going to fight each other on the bench.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. I saw that yesterday, what was going on, and it was unbelievable. And then you got A-Rod, who is owner of the Timberwolves, who's posting clips of the Timberwolves today, getting them hyped up for the playoffs. I'm like, boy, you got to fix your locker room first. Make sure everyone's not fighting each other. But I got the Lakers beating Minnesota.
Yeah, and not even that for that Minnesota tussle. It felt like the last day of school for like a lot of these NBA teams. Like there was a tussle in the Clippers game, and then this Minnesota game where you have Kyle Anderson and Rudy Gobert. Apparently, according to Woj on ESPN, this is what he put. And I thought that was like an actual parody account on Twitter that Woj's. But this is what he put, as I quote, "The Timberwolves had to suspend Gobert for throwing a punch, but accepted that it was a shot to the chest with no intent to injure Kyle Anderson, and understood that Anderson called Gobert, and again, as I quote, a bitch repeatedly on the night Gobert was playing hurt. What is going on in Minnesota? What is? I mean, again, like Gobert is like one of those players where, first 5 years, yeah, he can be a real all-star. It's just been a weird show. Like from the COVID year, not taking it seriously, to now this season with Minnesota.
I was about to tell you that, Brandon. I was like, no one really likes him anymore after that time he started touching the microphone, and then literally 24 hours later, the whole world shuts down.
Bad rep. And and again, a play-in game on the road, it's like, man, you're gonna need Gobert that you paid this much money and this much capital to get a trade on, and now you can't even have him against LeBron James, Anthony Davis in the paint. One of the most dominant, and again, LeBron plays the entire 1 through 5. One of the most dominant front courts in the Western Conference. It's a little bit insane. But definitely what I would say about that game, look out for Anthony Edwards. The kid's a stud in his second year out of Georgia. And trust me, Minnesota could win this one, depending on what type of LeBron we see.
I think the Lakers got it in the bag.
I have to agree. I think as much as I would love to see the Timberwolves beat the Lakers, I don't see it happening. Especially that Rudy Gobert is not going to be playing, and that the idiot Jaden McDaniels punches the wall and fractures his left finger or whatever, and then he's out for like the rest of the season.
It's weird, man.
It's just
weird, but
just like self-torture for these Timberwolves.
Hey, but what I would say though, Mike Conley, just like Drew Holiday, the old guards are coming back, man. Mike Conley's having a year. He really is having a year.
So Isaac has just joined us. Isaac, what would you say? You Lakers, Timberwolves in the play-in tournament? You think the shorthanded Timberwolves are going to take out LA?
I mean, what's this guy Patrick Beverly? Is he starting or is he coming off the bench at this point?
Well, Patrick Beverly is in Chicago.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. He's like, I think it was last year. I had like the image of Patrick Beverly like celebrating on the stands or whatever from the Timberwolves making the playoffs last year. Sorry about that. You know what? I have to agree with Brandon. I think Minnesota, even though they're having like this turmoil, that's very weird. Fighting on the sidelines and all that. I think they could beat this Laker team. I don't think the Lakers are that good. The fact that they made the playoffs is pretty like surprising in itself. The fact that Anthony Davis has survived the full season is surprising in itself. I think Minnesota they might be considered the underdog because they don't have a guy named LeBron James, but I could see them winning in the play-in and, maybe raising a few eyebrows in the playoffs.
Well, hey, we'll just go to what Jonka said. Jonka has a theory. Isaac, I don't know if you've heard this theory before. You know Jonka, how he is. Jonka has a theory that the play-in tournament was only created so they can keep LeBron James and the Lakers in the postseason.
I haven't been wrong yet.
I'll be honest. I'm not a huge LeBron hater or anything like that, but Adam Silver will do anything, right, to help his legacy or whatever. But what I will say is I'm not a big fan of the play-in tournament. You have teams like OKC and the Hawks in it. I mean, you look at the way that those teams have played. I mean, you can even throw the Timberwolves in there. They don't really deserve it. And but whatever, more games, more money, more ad revenue, whatever. That's an interesting take there, Jonka.
So Thunder Pelicans, what do you guys think about that one? I'm going with OKC.
I love that matchup. I really love that matchup. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander,
first round picks gone wrong, basically.
No, honestly, but let me tell you though, they were able to take away the Mavericks from the postseason. They were able to get Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Giddey, and as well as I forgot the guy's name fully, but it's one of the Jalens on OKC, number 8 Jalen, who's been just phenomenal this year, and honestly top 3 in Rookie of the Year this season. But the Pelicans at home, Brandon Ingram, of course, playing phenomenal basketball as usual. But Zion Williamson not going to be a part of this team, and honestly, not looking like it for the postseason, in my honest opinion. They're looking to probably win out this game and then pray they make it to the second round if Zion is to return at all. So it'll be interesting. CJ McCollum, a lot of playoff experience with Brandon Ingram, who is now leading this Pelicans team into a postseason, like the play-in tournament. I don't really got anyone in that game because I don't know exactly who's going to show up. And again, OKC, young guys, first time in an environment like, and again, I know it's New Orleans we're talking about in the Smoothie King Center, but still, postseason basketball. It's going to be new for everyone.
Yep. Isaac or Jonka, you guys can go. I got OKC. So,
I mean, I do like Brandon Ingram, but I have to say OKC is they're a young team. Like I don't think they deserve being in the playoffs, but I haven't watched them as well. I'm just going based off of like the standings and stuff. But I do like what's his name, SGA basically. Gilgeous Alexander. I really like him, so I have to go with OKC.
Jonka?
I'm gonna have to agree. I saw OKC versus the Warriors game. OKC looked like a legit. They could threat somebody if they're on a good day. I got OKC, and if I think that would put it would be the Pelicans versus the Timberwolves. If both Lakers and the OKC were to win, I think that's how it works. I think no, I don't know. But if somehow, some way, the Pelicans were to come out and end up in the AC of the 7th seed, and let's say somehow the Zion comes back, they could shock somebody because last time Zion and Brandon Ingram were on the floor in the NBA this season, they were the number one ranked seed in the entire NBA. They had the best record, and they were number one in the West. So I would hesitate for somebody to underestimate them, especially that they made a pretty good run last year. They shocked some people. They played well against the Suns, but they didn't end up not winning that series. But I'm gonna stick to OKC. I'm gonna stick to OKC though.
So we're gonna work with what we have in the first round.
Yeah.
And this first matchup here on Saturday, dude, I feel like this matchup happens every single year, some way or somehow. The Brooklyn Nets and the Philadelphia 76ers. Why? I feel like every year we have a Nets Sixers playoff series. And it's always about, the headline's always Ben Simmons going back to Philadelphia. Philadelphia, I will say Philadelphia is supposed to win this series. I'm picking Philadelphia. I think Joel Embiid, for me, no disrespect to Jokic in Denver, but for me, Embiid is the MVP, and no disrespect to Giannis in Milwaukee, but for me, Embiid is the MVP. So I'm taking Philadelphia over Brooklyn in that first round matchup.
No, same here. I mean, for Philadelphia themselves, I do believe that they mostly played their best game of basketball a little bit too soon. But James Harden, assist leading in the NBA, Joel Embiid leading the entire NBA in points per game, at least. Let me say it like that, because there's like 3 different ways to put a scoring title. But Joel Embiid, James Harden, that duo with a cast like they have in Philadelphia with PJ Tucker, Maxey, Tobias Harris, which I still think, in my honest opinion, still has a lot of time left to be an all-star again. But that's a cast that Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson, that's a little bit too much right there. That's a little bit too much for the Brooklyn Nets. And unless Cam Thomas is going to go off for 40 pieces for 4 games in a row like he did earlier this year, I doubt it. I got Sixers in 6.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's hard to disagree with that too, because the fact that the Brooklyn Nets even made the play-in, I think in and of itself, you have to give them credit for that. I think everybody wrote them off once Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving were off the team. So the fact that they made it this far is great. But I think their run ends here. And Danny, thank you for talking about Joel Embiid, man. I don't think people talk about him enough, especially this year. When you have a guy like Jokic who could score, could do so much, but the one thing he doesn't do is play defense. And Joel Embiid is just nasty in the paint playing defense. And he can shoot the 3-ball too. He's had a couple 40-point games this year, which is crazy. I mean, a 7-footer, getting that many points, dominating the way that he does on the floor. But yeah, I think the Nets run ends here, and you have to give respect to James Harden and Joel Embiid for the 76ers.
Jonka?
I'm going to have to agree. 76ers, I think that Joel Embiid is having his season this year. I think it's going to be either 5 or 6.
Okay. So the next one, we have the New York Knicks and the Cleveland Cavaliers. You guys might be a little shocked about this one, but I'm taking the New York Knicks because I feel that the way the New York Knicks have been playing towards the end of the season, they haven't been playing bad. They've been playing pretty well, especially Julius Randle. So I'm going to go with the New York Knicks.
Yeah, that matchup in New York, though, I got to say, I don't really know where to go with this one, too. I think there's also with OKC as well as with the Pelicans in the play-in. It's just you got two squads playing the best game of basketball they played in a long time. Donovan Mitchell going to be, and again, storybook how it is in the offseason. The Knicks trying to work throughout the entire summer to get Mitchell, and then the Cavs come in within one day and are able to get that deal done. So this is going to be a big one. I think New York, if Quickly is actually playing good basketball at this part of the season, I think Jalen Brunson brings in a lot of experience. I think that, Grimes, we talked about as well, Julius Randle. I got the Knicks winning that one, and it's going to go to 7, though. I mean, again, the Cavaliers, phenomenal squad. Mobley, one of the best centers in the Eastern Conference, as well as Karis LeVert playing some great basketball. But it's just the starting five they got out there. They got no bench, no depth. And that's not good in a 7-game series.
Who's next? I feel like Jonka has to say something.
Go ahead.
Bro, I want to be very careful how I say this. Jeez. The reason I would love to see the Knicks in the second round is because they've gone through so much hardship these past couple decades. But it's the Knicks. It's the Knicks. I'm going to end up seeing Stephen A. Smith on First Take screaming on television on why they should have gone for Donovan Mitchell, and they ended up not getting him. I can see Donovan Mitchell going for 40 every game.
I don't know if you're.
Man,
we could agree on that, bro. I think Donovan Mitchell's gonna play his heart out, and with his new team. And I agree with you, Jonka, that the Knicks have gone through a lot these past decades. But I have to say that and I do agree also with Brandon that it will go 7 games. But I'll say the reverse. I think this is a battle of two poverty franchises. Okay, and I hope no Knicks fan or Cavalier fans are watching. But these are poverty franchises, especially when it comes to the Knicks. But you won't find me saying that, bro. You won't find me breaking down stats and congratulating the Knicks for anything, bro. Why? Because they're missing this right here, bro. Oh, my bad. They're missing this right here. That's the culture, okay? And what have they had? Maybe they do have culture, actually. They have a losing culture. And I think it will continue because Donovan Mitchell is about to go off with his new squad. And maybe they don't have a bench, but I don't think they'll need one against the poverty franchise Knicks. And I think they get it done in 7 games. Cleveland,
Okay.
that is.
Okay, this one's going to be fun to talk about. I know Jonka is going to be excited to talk about this one. This one, oh, man. The Sacramento Kings and the Golden State Warriors. Sacramento has played pretty well all year round. That is why Sacramento finished 3rd in the Western Conference. If Andrew Wiggins is playing with the Warriors,
he is.
I could see the Warriors make a deep run in the playoffs. I'm not going to lie to you. So I'm going to have to go Golden State. Charles Barkley says Sacramento. That's what Charles Barkley says. But I'm going with Golden State.
I mean, the battle for NorCal, Warriors are cooked in 5. I think it's pretty same and simple. Kings playing the best offense in the NBA in the Western Conference. De'Aaron Fox, Devontae Sabonis, both of them, honestly, not first team NBA, but definitely an all NBA cast of guys right there. That should be at least 3rd team all NBA. And the Golden State Warriors, you look at a team like that and you think of Andrew Wiggins not going to be playing. You also have the idea of their road record woes also followed them into the postseason. And Sacramento's been playing the most electric, fast-paced basketball I've ever seen in a long time. First time ever they've been in the postseason since 2006. First time they won the division of the Pacific since 2003. And the fans, if they're anything like what they were in the regular season, the Warriors are not going to win a game in Sacramento. And that's a guarantee. In my honest opinion, they got to pray to win a game in Sacramento. I got the Kings in 5, light the beam.
Wow, that's a strong take right there. That is a very strong take right there.
I stand by it. Unless Curry gets like 40 points, but you know.
It's Curry. I wouldn't doubt it.
I will say, just about a week ago, Golden State did beat Sacramento at Sacramento. I will let you know that right now. They beat them by over 22 points, by the way. And it was just like 2 days ago, I think, or yesterday, Golden State just scored 55 points in a single quarter and breaking the record. Golden State is deeper. They've got championship intangibles. They've got the experience. And I don't think, I mean, as good as Sacramento has been all year, I don't think that they don't have anybody to guard Steph, Clay, Poole, Kuminga, Draymond. And then their bench, I think they're the deepest team in the playoffs right now, to be honest. And yes, everybody brings up the away game record. It's like, listen, that doesn't matter in the playoffs because we all know it's either at the Chase Center or at Sacramento. And it doesn't really matter because Golden State just proved like a week ago they could beat them at home anyways. And the Warriors at home are nearly unbeatable. So let's say 7-game series, Warriors win those 3 games, and then they take one more game at Sacramento, game over.
Isaac?
I mean, I have to side with Brandon because like you look at the home and the away record and the fact that Sacramento is 3 overall, like in the Western Conference. I mean, that's awesome, you know, and the fact that they have Sabonis and the fact that they have Darren Fox. I mean, they've had a great season. But I have to agree with Jonka, the fact that the Golden State Warriors have been here before. Yes, they have an 11-30 away record, which is horrible. But they were 8-2 the last 10 games. They went into, I think they had that amazing game against another poverty franchise. I can't remember right now. Towards the end of the season, where they scored like 50-something points in the first half. So they had such a dominant start to that game. So I think they're going in as the hot team, even though they have the lower seed. They have the championship caliber. And you're right, Brandon. I think maybe the first 2 games might be a little close, might be a little bit challenging for the Warriors being away from home, and maybe they even jump out to a 2-0 start. But once Klay Thompson and company, Steph Curry and company, Andrew Wiggins hopefully comes back and gives them, a fire, maybe 20, 25, 30 points coming off the bench or whatever, even if he's starting, he can give them that boost that they need to overcome an inexperienced Sacramento team. And I think the Warriors come out in 6 games.
And I will say for this year, that's regular season, the 4-game series between the Warriors and the Kings, the Warriors won the series 3-1. So
I was going to say too, like the last 10 games, Sacramento was 5-5. So, I'm really questioning whether they're going to get to a hot start. And if they do, they'll do it at home. But away from home against a tough Warriors team, I'm not sure.
So we're going with 3 Golden State, and Brandon will be the lone Sacramento guy.
Hey, he'll be eating the cake too, man. I feel like Brandon, I'm not sure if he's a betting man, but he might be making some money. Who knows? We'll see. But I like the Warriors personally.
Hey, this playoff series right here, this is the last one for this topic, but this playoff series right here, it's another one I think Jonka will love to talk about, because this one I've been wrong before. I've picked them and I've been wrong before. The LA Clippers against the Phoenix Suns. I have been wrong before about Phoenix. I have picked Phoenix multiple times before. and I have been wrong. I love Kevin Durant. You guys know I love Kevin Durant. I want to pick the Phoenix Suns in this series against the Clippers. I really do. But strange things have happened before with the Suns where you expect them to win a series and they just fall into shambles. But you know what? I will stick with them one more time because of Kevin Durant, and I'm going with the Phoenix Suns.
For this matchup, I want people to realize this is the first time Kawhi Leonard and Kevin Durant are going against each other in a postseason matchup since 2019 NBA Finals. This will be a prime-time marquee 7-game series in the first round. There won't be much. I mean, maybe the Cavs-Knicks one much closer, but this will be the closest matchup in my honest opinion. This will go 7 games, if not 6 games. Kevin Durant on the roster, undefeated with the Suns. Devin Booker with a headband, undefeated with the Suns this season. Honestly, I got Phoenix in that one. It's going to be close. It's very much going to be close, but no Paul George. And if the Clippers are looking to get Paul George back onto their roster, they got to make it out of this first round. With that matchup not being able to even make the first round against a team like the Phoenix Suns, who, in my honest opinion, a top 2, at least top 3 competitor in the Western Conference to really win it all, I can't imagine this Clippers team not being able to get over the hump. I have the Clippers trying to make it close. They don't get too far, though. I think it's either 6 or 7 games.
Okay, we got 2 Phoenix Suns there. Isaac, Jonka?
I think it'll be close, like Brandon said. But, I think Phoenix is just a better off team. When you look at the conference record, like against your own conference, the Clippers are only 27-25. And so I'm not sure what the head-to-head matchup is. I would have to look that up against Phoenix. But they've got KD, man. He was a generational talent. Yes, Kawhi Leonard should be fresh at the knees and the elbows and the shoulders and all. Who else? The other injuries he's had in his back. Whatever's going on with Kawhi Leonard, he should be 100%. But I don't think it'll be enough to defeat, two generational talents in Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. I think Phoenix just has too much for the Clippers here, and they win it in 6 games. Actually, I'll even say 5 games.
Okay. Jonka?
I'm gonna say the Phoenix Suns just because the Clippers don't have PG-13.
Okay.
It's hard to if they had them, maybe if the only way I could see them beating them is if they were to split the 2 first games 1-1, and Paul George were able to come back early. Maybe they can make a fight for it, but I don't see that happening. So I'm gonna take the Suns.
And that'll be all with our NBA first round playoffs talk. We're gonna go. Isaac got here right on time because he's gonna like talking about this. But here we are, UFC 287. The 2 main events we had: the Miami native Jorge Gamebred Masvidal taking on Gilbert Burns, and of course we had Israel Adesanya taking on Alex Pereira. Let's talk about Gamebred first against Gilbert Burns. It was disappointing. I was talking to Isaac. We were texting back and forth throughout the fight. It was just a disappointing 3 rounds. Now that I look at it after this fight happened, I feel like this was all orchestrated with Dana White to bring back UFC to Miami for the first time in 20 years. I think Masvidal knew he wasn't going to win. I think he knew that he wanted this last fight in his career to be in Miami. That's why Dana White brought it to Miami. And for me, watching this fight, I didn't give any of the 3 rounds to Masvidal. I think literally Gilbert Burns won all 3 rounds. And like you told me, Isaac, on that night, on fight night, Masvidal still hasn't learned from his mistakes in the fights with Kamaru Usman. If Gilbert Burns really looked like he was about to knock out Masvidal. But it is what it is, and you just got to celebrate the man's career now.
Yeah, I mean, we could be positive about it. And, I don't know if you guys followed like MMA Hour by Ariel Hawani. He has a great Instagram page. It's aired on, I can't remember if it's ESPN or not, but MMA Hour, you guys should check that out. He had an interview recently with George Masvidal, and like news, like in the post conference, like right after the fight, news came out that Gilbert Burns accused George Masvidal of
Lotion.
greasing, of greasing, of using like Vaseline to make it a little bit easier. I mean, harder for Gilbert Burns to take down Masvidal. And I don't know what the facts are on that. I mean, you have a commission, you have a referee, you have so many guys checking the fighters before the fight, during the fight, et cetera, et cetera. But like I told Danny, it's a case where a guy is almost 39 years old in George Masvidal, and he hadn't learned from the Colby fight. He hadn't learned from the two big fights against Kamaru Usman facing a wrestler. And we all know Gilbert Burns is a black belt in jiu-jitsu, but he wasn't really going to focus on that too much. He was going to take down George Masvidal, and Masvidal has a good defensive, like he can sprawl, he can defend the takedown, but when you look at those four other fights, between Colby and Kamaru Usman, what do we see? We saw a guy who got fatigued, got tired, and over time, I mean, those takedowns from Gilbert Burns were just too much. And I don't know if you guys saw the fight, Brandon and Janka, but there was a couple of times where George Masvidal would get hit, he'd just get cracked, and he would just go like this. And it's like, that tells me he was just mentally weak. I mean, we've seen it before, boxing, all these other combat sports where a guy gets hit hard and he seems like, smiling or whatever. But what do? They get back in that zone. And just like George Masvidal said at the end of the fight, he said he doesn't get in the cage with that same mentality anymore. And I think we saw it again in his last fight, but kudos to him to retire. He's had something like 50 pro fights, which you don't see that a lot, especially nowadays, like where guys just have that kind of longevity. My thoughts on the final, main card fight, Israel Adesanya, like hits Pereira with one good punch, and that's all he needed. Or you could say one or two, right? One to kind of stumble his opponent and one to knock him out, and that was amazing. And I don't know if you guys saw on the post-fight interview, but he gave like a really big speech about mental toughness and all that. And it was what, like 1 a.m., 1:30 a.m. or something at the end. And like it got me moving. It got my adrenaline going. Like, it was amazing.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah,
before Brandon and Janka go, like, I really thought, first of all, commenting what you said about Masvidal when he would get hit and then say, like, let's go, like, that's just, for me, like, in the moment, I was like, that's a defense mechanism where he knows he's getting clocked in the face and he has to try to make something look like he's tough.
Yeah.
And about Adesanya, like, dude, I thought he was done. Like, when Pereira had him against the cage, I thought he was done. Like, this is about to end. Pereira's about to finish him. And out of nowhere, Adesanya comes up with these two punches, and it's it. It's done. And I heard it was all part of the game plan to bait in Pereira. It was absolutely insane.
I mean, when I'm watching the fight and I'm like, oh no, this is gonna happen again. You have Israel Adesanya. He's got these long arms. He's like a Kevin Durant who can fight. Who's so good keeping the distance or whatever, and he's against the cage, so he's not gonna have the same, movement or the same freedom to move around. But he baits him, and it was gonna look like the end of the first fight. And when I saw that left and then the right to finish, I was just my jaw was on the floor. I couldn't believe it. It was pure insanity.
Man, but let me tell you though, I mean, before I go into the UFC fights itself, I do want to say one thing and one thing only. Jorge Masvidal is the king of South Florida MMA. His unique style to it, for every single Cuban American, let alone Cuban in South Florida, we thank him. And I gotta say, I was watching it on some random streaming website, and when I heard that Scarface intro, I was like, man, I'm gonna miss that. I'm gonna miss that. 20 years of greatness. Unfortunately, as he said before, Sometimes that shooter doesn't have that same shot in the NBA. Sometimes that guy don't have the same swing in baseball, or just didn't have that same mentality when he went into the octagon. But definitely, when I saw that fight, I mean, I think Jorge had a close one in the first round, but Burns is just, I mean, at 38 years old, man. I mean, he's still got it. At number 5 in his weight class, insane talent from him. And he's probably going to be on his way to fighting for a belt. But Izzy, though, cold. When he said that he was playing possum with him, and he said, look at that. And the entire green screen or blue, whatever it is, of the stadium that have changed their name 3 times for something to something center. They saw him, cold on the ground. Izzy, arrows back like this.
Yes.
Copies the guy's kid from a fight I don't even remember in their freaking 4-way trilogy, and he sleeps on the ground. He got sturdy in the middle of the octagon. I mean, that's Hall of Fame talent if I ever seen one. But it was a great card in Miami. I think the biggest thing about it, though, of course, is that, 1, tickets were insanely priced. There was a guy that was like selling for like $750. No one's going to pay for that. And then 2, Jorge starts in Miami. He finishes in Miami. I love the atmosphere. A lot of NFL. Mike McDaniels was there in the crowd too.
Yep.
And I have to say, Aaron Donald, But besides that, I think it was a great card. There was also a fight prior to the top, 2 that really got everyone's attention. I forgot the one that was
Kevin Holland?
Probably that one, yeah. But the guy did a kick.
Yeah, that was brutal.
Another guy automatically just hit him on the floor right there. That was an insane fight. There was a really great card. Honestly, something I wasn't really expecting out of this one. So I think it was a good night for the UFC.
Jonka?
I didn't watch any of the fights. I'm not a big UFC guy.
I know, bro. I know.
Pardon me. But I did see the knockout by Adesanya. That shit was nice. I love him. He's that the anime dude. I love him, so I gotta respect that as it is with me. But talking about the UFC as what it brought to Miami, I would like to see that more often.
Yeah,
it was a huge crowd. So many celebrities, so many people came to watch. I think Dana White was saying that Miami had a better attendance, better overall numbers than MSG. And so I'm like, wow, over MSG, the Miami Dade Arena, FTX Arena, Casino Arena just beat out MSG. I'm like, jeez. So I'm just like, hey, I mean, who doesn't love Miami? The weather is better than New York. You could argue better than LA. With all those fires and earthquakes and shit. Why not have it in Miami more often? Jeez. So I want to see that more often. I gotta be honest. If you have more UFC events in Miami, who knows? Maybe in the future I would decide to go to one, because the majority of them are either in Vegas, LA, and New York, and I don't tengo tiempo ir para allá. So just putting it out there, everybody sees it. Bring him down here.
Final topic of the night. This will be for Brandon. Anyone else can chime in, but the man's begging to talk about it. He's wearing the jersey. Will the Florida Panthers make the playoffs this season?
So the situation got a little bit more intense.
Mm-hmm.
The New York Islanders, who are right behind the Florida Panthers in the wild card spot. For those who do not know, the wild card spot in the Eastern Conference right now is settled in as Panthers at the first of it. Behind them is the Islanders, and then outside on the bubble, the Pittsburgh Penguins. Now, the Panthers couldn't clinch the wild card spot for the playoffs to go against North Carolina. They did not do that against the Maple Leafs tonight, where they lost 2-1 at home at FLA Live Arena. Now, what's the chances now? They got one more game left, and funny enough, against a team they could potentially play in the postseason in Carolina on Thursday. You look at the Penguin situation. Right now they're behind, I believe, about 1 point in the standings. What it's looking like right now, similar to soccer, 3 points for a victory, 1 point for an overtime loss, which the Panthers were able to get today in their overtime loss against the Maple Leafs. for some reason. The Maple Leafs wanted to play hard, even though they already know their destiny. And then, of course, that's what I'm saying. They were just there to be haters. Freaking Canadians out there in Maple Leafs in Toronto. Then again, great franchise, one of the original 8. But yeah, so right now I'm looking at the further schedule. The Pittsburgh Penguins, who are just about behind a point, their next 2 games are against the Blackhawks of Chicago as well as the Canadiens. I don't know about you, but the Canadiens are the worst team in the East. The Blackhawks are the worst team in the West. I'm thinking they're going to make it. I'm thinking the Penguins are probably going to make it to get 2 wins. If they lose a game, that just about puts us in. And then the Islanders as well, funny enough, played against the Canadiens on Wednesday. And I believe, let me double check here, that is their last game, if not. And yeah, that is actually their last game. So the Islanders could make or break for us. If the Islanders do lose Wednesday, that means that Panthers are qualified to go into the wild card spot, either 1 or 2, depending what the Penguins finish at. And the Panthers, they could clinch it with a victory against the Hurricanes. Now, are they going to make the postseason? Tkachuk having one of the best seasons he's had. I think he's had over a bunch of points, sets on goals and assists. I think 108 is the exact number. Don't quote me on that. Barkov, Sasha, the guy that I'm wearing the jersey right now in the back, the captain for the Panthers. He's having a good season himself. I mean, at 26, 25 years old, what do you expect from him? Gudis, the defense is amazing. I think Verhaeghe, he's also playing great hockey right now. But Alex Lyon, despite today's loss, coming into today's game against the Maple Leafs, 6-0, undefeated at goal with Sergei Bobrovsky being out. So the Panthers, they've been on a roll, and this is their first loss in some time. Now the question is, one last game, do they finish it out? Or do you have a team like, for example, the Maple Leafs today, just because they want to play hard? The Hurricanes, they know where their spot is going to be in the postseason. They're in a similar situation that in Toronto. And again, in the NHL, such as in anywhere in sports, nobody really cares about your team. So the Panthers, they're going to have to act like this is game 1 or game 7 of the postseason, because this might make or break the season, depending on what the Islanders do on Wednesday.
Anyone else? Jaka, Isaac, would you like to chime in?
I just have a question, or it's actually more of a statement, and do you agree with it or not, Brandon?
Okay.
So does any of the playoff games really matter? Because the Bruins are the best thing ever at 63 wins?
Yeah.
They have to sweep, right? They have to just sweep the whole thing, and they're going to win, right? They're the favorite to win this year, right?
No, absolutely. NHL, record for victories this regular season. And funny enough that you say that, because as I mentioned before, if the Panthers do win against Carolina, they'll clinch it. However, as I mentioned before, the Penguins playing some weak teams ahead, they can take that first spot in the wild card to go against the Carolina. And guess who the Panthers would have to play? The Boston Bruins. So it's really
like
a situation.
15-16. They're ridiculous.
Yeah. So it's really a situation where the Panthers have a shot or they're screwed in the postseason. Either way, I want to see some postseason hockey. The best postseason there is besides the NBA. The Panthers, Sunrise, they've been on the rise recently, but definitely be a tough road in the next few weeks. I mean, the next few days, most likely.
The Panthers have the series tied with the Carolina Hurricanes, 1-1. This final game on Thursday, on the 13th, will be at home in Sunrise.
Yes, and also fill that building up. Panther fans, South Florida.
I'm thinking about it. I'm
building up now. I'm telling you right now.
I'm thinking about going. I'm thinking about it.
Should go.
I haven't been to a game in years. I'm like, shit, let's do it. I might go.
Isaac's gonna drive down from Orlando, bro. He's like, I'm gonna go.
Hey, if I wasn't doing school stuff and everything up here, I would be down there myself rooting on the Panthers. But let me tell you, South Floridians, go to BB&T Center, go to FLA Live Center, whatever you want to call it. Make your way to Sunrise. They got free parking at the mall across the street. Make yourself seen for Sasha as well as for the Panthers.
Listen, I'm gonna call out a traitor in this in this stream right now, and there's no excuses because y'all both live in Central Florida. And look at Brandon right now. Brandon's got the Panthers jersey on. This man went to a Tampa Bay Lightning game.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. And his roots are from Miami. This guy wants to be all Central Florida now.
That hurts.
Who are you talking about? Me?
Yeah, I'm talking about you.
I was in the what? I haven't gone to a Tampa Bay game.
He's like, I was in the area.
I was in the area. I went to the actual stadium, and it was what was the name of the band? It was I'm about to have my girlfriend come on the stream. It was for the name of that band who sings Panic at the Disco. I Write Sins Not Tragedies. It was for Panic at the Disco, where the Lightning play. I took a picture, I posted on Instagram. That was like how many months ago? And you bring this up now in the stream to try to call me out. That's crazy. That's nuts.
He's lying. He went to go see a Lightning game. That's what it was.
No, it was no Lightning game. That's crazy.
It's what it was. Anyway,
by the way,
guys,
I saw that they're 3-5 last 8 games.
hey, those people, every time you come to the playoffs, they come alive and they just somehow find their way to the Stanley Cup final.
It
It's
is
like clockwork.
I would hate for them to win this year.
So anyways, guys, that's all the time that we have tonight. Next week, episode 90, the countdown to episode 100. We're going to get there. Super exciting. Again, thank you guys for joining us tonight. Stay tuned to all of our social media at PlugTalkSports, and we will see you guys next week for a brand new episode. Have a great rest of your week.